Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I'll be discussing my TBR for the month of July. The first thing I want to say is I haven't done a lot of TBR videos for the year of 2022. I actually haven't done any that I can think of because I've been incredibly busy and because my reading schedule has shifted and I've chosen to put down this book and pick up this one or boot a book off for several months or even indefinitely. So I just have not been following a certain pattern. But I intend to do that in the month of July, so we'll see how well I can do. Some of these books might be like books that I read on the tail end of June, but still overall month of July for this reading list. And of course, as always, this is subject to change. But the first book I'll discuss is a book I don't actually have a physical copy of because it hasn't come out yet, but it will by the time of this video, and that is Star Wars Shadows of the Sith by Adam Christopher. This is a brand new book set in the post-Return of the Jedi universe with Luke and Lando basically chasing Ochi of Bastoon. I'm very interested in this book because I'm interested in post-Return of the Jedi storytelling. I think that this is an area that needs to be covered more, that there's ripe, ample opportunity. And I'm also a fan of Luke Skywalker, so I'm interested in seeing him in this book. Unfortunately, a lot of the books in the canon haven't nailed Luke well. I've loved a lot of things, like the Thrawn books have been fantastic, and the Phasma book was good, and, you know, some of the Leia books have been pretty good. So the canon can nail several of the canon characters, but Luke is one that just hasn't worked out. You know, I wasn't a fan of Ken Liu's Legends of Luke Skywalker. I wasn't a big fan of Kevin Hearn's Heir to the Jedi. I thought the new short story collection, which I just reviewed, they told a bunch of stories, and I thought they were all pretty good except for the one about Luke. So Luke's a hard character to nail, and I'm hoping that I'll enjoy it. I have seen some reviews that have given me pause, particularly one from my friend Matthew over at The Geek's Attic, which, by the way, he has a great channel. Check him out for Star Wars books and other types of books. But I don't know how I'm going to feel about this one, but I read every Star Wars book, so I'm hopeful that I'll enjoy that. Let me transition into Star Trek. I have a couple Star Trek books on this list. Book number 2 for the month is How Much for Just the Planet. This is an old classic Star Trek book. Like, you can even see the kind of yellow edging on the book shows how old it is. This is a wacky looking book, but I think it's going to be lots of fun. I really like the character of Krug from the Search for Spock. Search for Spock's one of my favorite Star Trek movies. Krug's probably one of my favorite villains. I really liked what they did with Krug and other Klingons in the Prey trilogy from John X and Miller. So I've heard that this is a wacky book, but it looks fun, so we'll see how I enjoy it. One of my Star Trek reads for the month. My other Star Trek read is a much more traditional type of Star Trek book, which is Star Trek The Next Generation Greater Than the Sum by Christopher L. Bennett. I've read one other Christopher L. Bennett book, which was the Captain's Oath. And I really enjoyed that. It wasn't an amazing book, but I really enjoyed it. And this book leads right up to the events of the Destiny trilogy and shows a marriage between two characters that I'm really interested in. And so this is a much more of my style post-Nemesis book that I'm interested in. And so I can't wait to dive into this one as well. That's book number 3. Book number 4 for the month is going to be a science fiction. I have 2 science fiction books. Book number 4 is Timothy Zahn's The Manta's Gift. I have enjoyed Timothy Zahn's science fiction works, most of them. You know, the Cobra trilogy I thought was really good. I also thought that his Sybil's War trilogy was really enjoyable. I also really loved his Conquerors trilogy. That Conquerors trilogy was amazing. And then he's also done some great standalones right around the end of the 90s and the early 2000s. Books such as Angel Mass, which I thought was superb, Icarus Hunt, which was also superb, which is also coming out in the month of July. The sequel is, that is. And then he wrote The Manta's Gift in that same period of time. This is the third of those kind of standalones that he wrote in the early 2000s. And I saw this book in the bookstore for very cheap, and I was like, I'm a Timothy Zahn fan, so I'm going to read this book and have fun with it. So it looks very sci-fi. It looks very different than his type of sci-fi because he's more military sci-fi, and this looks more creature-based sci-fi. But we'll see how it is. That's my number 4. My number 5, I'll just go to the other science fiction book, is Timothy Zahn's new book, The Icarus Plot. I'll put the image up here. This is a new release coming in, I think it's late July that it's going to be hitting shelves. I don't know much about the plot or about the book. I just know it's a sequel, a kind of linear sequel, but you don't have to have read The Icarus Hunt, so it's not directly a sequel. But I think it's going to be fun. I enjoyed Icarus Hunt a lot, so Icarus Plot looks interesting. I'm disappointed that they didn't use the same type of cover art, that they just decided to go modern cover art. But we'll see how that book is. So that's my number 5. My number 6 book for the month is going to be a tome. I have a couple of small tomes that I'm going to try to get through. And this is Of Fire and Night, the 5th book in the Saga of the Seven Sons. I have been really enjoying reading through the Saga of the Seven Sons. I think each book has gotten better and better than the last one. And so if that's the case, this might be an amazing book. We'll see, but I really enjoy Kevin J. Anderson's plots. I really enjoy his characters, and I enjoy the way he builds stories. He has a real, I think it's a unique style because of how massive he does everything. I don't really think I've read anyone that's really quite like him. So I really enjoyed this book, this series, I should say, and I'm going to enjoy this book, I'm sure, is what I should say. So that's book number 6. Going into book number 7 is my epic fantasy book that I'm going to read this month, but it's not a traditional epic fantasy. It is The Burning God, the 3rd and final book in the Poppy War trilogy. I am excited for this book for 2 reasons. One is, I thought Poppy War was a good book, but I didn't have fun with it. I thought The Dragon Republic was a superb book. I thought it was a wonderful book, really well done. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, because I didn't love the Poppy War. I thought it was just fine, but Dragon Republic was good. So I have high hopes for this one. Also, I'm excited because once I read this, I'm done with the trilogy, and I realized how many book series I'm in the middle of, and I just want to wrap them up when I can, and so this is an opportunity for me to wrap up a book, so I'm really excited for this one. So that's book number 7 for me. Book number 8, we're going into the kind of techno thriller, not a genre I ever thought I'd get into, but I have 2 books for this, and the first one is Zeros by Chuck Wendig. This is I read the sequel before I read this one. The sequel is called Invasive, and it's about killer ants. It was the first kind of thriller horror novel that I read. It was really like Jurassic Park, and I enjoyed it. It was a bit weird. Well, I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. I had fun. And so I'm interested in reading this one. It's much more techno-based than it is creature-based, but I think it's Chuck Wendig. I don't always like his writing style, but I really enjoy his plots. I think he writes excellent plots. So I'm interested in seeing whether I'll enjoy this one. What is that? That was book number 8. So book number 9 is going to be Ghost Station by Dan Wells, a fairly recent release. It was released in like March of 2022, and this is a book that has not gotten much attention anywhere in the BookTube sphere, in the Goodreads sphere, in the Amazon sphere. It's just not really popular. But I think Dan Wells is an amazing, terrific author, and his podcast with Brandon Sanderson is wonderful. And so I've enjoyed all 3 books of his I Am Not a Serial Killer trilogy. That book, Mr. Monster, and I Don't Want to Kill You. Great trilogy, and so I'm really looking forward to reading Ghost Station, which is much more just a thriller. It's just an action thriller. So we'll see if I enjoy this one. All right, book number 10 for the month is another tome, and this is John Grisham's Sycamore Row. I read the first book in this series called A Time to Kill, probably John Grisham's most famous novel, and I loved it. I was blown away. It's one of my favorite books of the year that I've read so far. And I read it because one of my friends that I used to work with was reading it, and I told him, if you read a book, I'll read the book with you. And he chose that book, and I was like, well, darn, I guess I have to read that book. And now he's reading the sequel, so I'm going to read the sequel. So I'm going to have a splendid time reading this, I'm sure. John Grisham is such a light author. He doesn't put anything controversial or hard to read in his books at all. Anyway, I'm interested. If I love the first one, I'm sure I'll love this one as well. So I'm looking forward. It's a beast of a book. It's 600 pages, but his last one read really quickly. So that's 10 books, 2 new releases that I don't have physical copies of, and 8 books on my actual list. So I'm really excited. So if you've read any of these books, let me know your comments down below. If you're excited to read any of these books yourselves, let me know down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And please watch my previous videos. I have videos on all these genres mostly. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.